Hello Van Lifer, it is Will Pemble today. Here's what's going on in your van today. It's very messy in here, but please don't look at the mess. Let's think about some of the progress that we've made. As you can see, all of the insulation is up on the roof. What the insulation on the roof is made of is glued to the metal on the top of the roof is a layer of 80 mil Neuco silver insulation. And if you look around at other videos, you'll see the Neuco silver is just like one of my favorite things in the world. On top of the Neuco silver is a layer of Neuco red 150 mil closed cell. Don't look at the mess! I'm trying to find some Neuco red. I can't find it anywhere because it's all buttoned up. Anyway, well, nowhere. Anyway, Neuco red is 150 mil closed cell sound deadener and insulation. Underneath that, so Neuco silver, then Neuco red 150 mil, then a layer of Thinsulate, 1 5/8 inch thick Thinsulate sits with the white part facing up, and then below that is this Reflectix, which is about 1/4 inch thick. It's got little air bubbles in it. It's like bubble wrap but silver, I guess, and it acts as a vapor barrier. You need to be really careful with vapor barriers in vans because automobiles get wet and they're meant to dry themselves out. The only place that I would like seal things up like this is in the roof, where we don't want any water to get in, and if it did get in, it would leak down the sides and drain out the drains in the sides of the van. So be very careful when you're sealing things up. Cars leak air and water, and they're meant to. So all of the insulation is done in the roof. What does that mean? It means that all of the wiring is done in the roof. This is all of the wirings. There's going to be a cool control panel that sits here. These are lights in the upper cabinets, and the doors aren't on yet, but if the door were to close, the light would go off. And so inside this piece of framingtech aluminum is a high density LED strip that washes light down inside the whole cabinet. You'll also notice that the cabinets are finished with beautiful glossy beadboard. You'll also note that the cabinets don't have the floor in. They've only got the underneath side there. Speaking of the underneath side, these beadboards are done, and then we've also got a strip of high-density LEDs in here. What are high-density LEDs? High-density LEDs are 60 LEDs per meter on a strip. Instead of 30. So most LED strips, if you get the cheap ones or something like that, you're going to find that the LEDs are spaced out pretty far, and you're not going to get continuous brightness. And so if you look down under here, what we've done is we've taken a piece of this stuff, which fits inside the channel, and that seals up the channel. You don't have to look at the LED strips, but the LEDs themselves are close enough together where you get a nice continuous band of light. Another cool thing about these switches, if you touch them, they dim, and if you touch them again, they brighten, and if you touch them, they turn off, and if you touch them again, they turn off. So they're really easy to find at night because they're bright blue, and they're really easy to work with, and they're pleasing. They feel good. So all of the lighting is done. All of the wiring up here is done. We're like the, and then the last thing that's going on today, and then I have to stop and eat food, is these strips are going across the top of the roof stringers. And so if you look up at this one up here, you'll see that this is kind of, if you take away the aluminum tape and all that sort of stuff, this is kind of what a roof stringer in a Sprinter van looks like. It's got little indentations and it's got holes in it, and the metal is very, very thin. Our ceiling in this van is held up by a bunch of neodymium strong magnets that are sunk into the back of the beadboards. And so what we're going to do is we're going to stick the ceiling up to the roof. Why? Because we might need to get up there to add something. We might need to get up there to fix something. We might need to take the ceiling down. And then the other thing is, I don't like to see fasteners and straps across the thing. I want to see a 14.5 foot long piece of beadboard all the way down the ceiling of this van. It looks beautiful. And so Liz made me stop at 5 coats of high gloss enamel. So there's only 5 coats of high gloss enamel on the boards. It's really shiny. So what I've done here is these are 1.5 inch by 1/8 inch flat bar mild steel. It's 1/8 of an inch thick. It's much more dense than the super thin material that you see in the roof of the van. And it is, as you might imagine, ferrous. And so a magnet sticks to something relative to the density or the mass. Is ferrousness a word? Of the thing. So a magnet's going to stick to this piece of mild steel better than it'll stick to a really thin piece of sheet metal. And I want the thing to stick like crazy. And I also wanted it to be smooth. And so you'll see that these screws, when we drilled these holes, we countersunk them at 82 degrees. These are little M5 screws. And so this is all super smooth, and it's really, really easy to mount a ceiling or any other system on the roof of the van. And so that's pretty much what's going on in your van today. If you have questions, if you have comments, if you have suggestions, let me know those. And thank you for letting me build your van. I'm willpemble. I'll see you soon.